Welcome, everyone, to the No Streetlights podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Tim. We'll be diving deeply into what we've been through, how it changed us, and what we've learned.
We want to crush stigmas through exploration and raw, honest discussions. Let's come together and break through these social norms by being vulnerable and open with each other. So take a breath, relax, and be welcome.
A huge thank you to Highland Markle for the original music, as well as all the pre- and post-production assistance.
You can find them on Instagram at Highland Markle. That's HYLANDMARKLE for all your mastering and mixing needs. Couldn't have done it without you, brother. Thank you.
All right, good stuff.
Or good adjacent.
Yeah. So, Aaron, what are we going to be talking about today?
I think we're going to start talking about our marriages, since that's how we've been living the past couple years, and I think we've learned a lot.
Yes, definitely. I think there's quite a bit that we could share about our marriage. I mean, I probably could talk about me and my wife for hours, days.
Yeah, we've been together for a few years now as well, so let's try and keep it under, say, 7 hours today.
I was thinking we could probably go for the full 8, but that's okay.
I mean, if you feel like chopping up that much material,
I mean,
you know I ramble.
I can absolutely listen to us talk for hours on end, so mostly because that's what I've been...
I'll leave that to your discretion then, Mr. Editor.
Yeah.
Well, if you need my help, you know where to find me.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So, do you want me to open up?
Yeah, let's give a little bit of backstory about our marriages, and we can start diving into certain topics.
Well, my wife swiped right on me on Tinder when she was down in the Outer Banks. She was a little toasty pants, so despite my profile setup that I was looking for something serious, and she was not, she still swiped right because of, what's the quote? That damn smile.
It is very enticing.
Yeah. She said, "What's the most awkward thing that's ever happened to you?" or something of that nature. Or that was her profile. And I said, "Hey, I know that your profile says I should share an awkward story, but I don't get weirded out. So, pass." And yeah, the rest is kind of history, but brief summary. We met up. She said she wasn't looking for anything serious. I said I was, and now we're married.
So, looks like you kind of won that one, huh?
Yeah, I would definitely consider myself the winner out of this. She may disagree with me, but I think that depends on how recently I've done the dishes.
Oh, yeah. I have noticed that the chores, how they get divided up, that's kind of the deciding factor for the mindset for an hour or two.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the dishes, right? So I can tell you a funny story. So one time, wife B, my wife, she was looking at a sink full of dishes. I think we just got done cooking a bunch of food for some friends, and we were kind of on the wind down time. I was tired. I think I had spent a good majority of that previous evening and the morning and afternoon kind of prepping what I was going to cook, letting marinades sit and dry rubs, stuff like that. Fired up the grill and cooked. So I was tired. I was ready to sit down. We just got done hosting guests, and my brain was kind of on that one track of I need to sit down in the AC for a little bit before I do anything too crazy. And my wife, she goes up to the sink and she's like, "Well, I guess I'll get started on the dishes." And I was like, "Mm-hmm." She was like, "My back just has been hurting so bad today." And you know, in my one track mind state, I kind of patted her and I was like, I know. And I went and sat down on the couch.
Oh, dude, we are so oblivious. I've got the exact same story for you, just mirrored. The exact same story, man. So my wife wanted me to do the dishes because they hadn't been done in a while. So before she left for work one day that I was off or something, or maybe I was retired at the time, she was like, hey, the sink is full of dirty dishes. And I looked at her and I was like, yep, it sure is. I just thought she was letting me know. She came home from work and the dishes weren't done. Dude, that's on me. I got to take that L. All right. I had to reflect. I had to learn. I had to go back and watch some tape. But I said, oh, you telling me the dishes were dirty was you asking me to do the dishes. And she was like, how did you not know that? I'm like, dude, I'm a man. I expect you to be like, hey, idiot, do the dishes. Yeah. And I'll be like, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You know,
we work very straightforward. You know, I say that a lot to my wife too, but I'm like, you know, I'm a very straightforward person. I say things exactly how I see them, and exactly, you know, what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. You know, when we're going through the list of, okay, we have to take care of this, this, and this, you know, I'll always be like, yeah, I'm going to vacuum the floors and the carpet, and then I'm going to steam the floors, and then I'm going to wipe down all the cabinets. And I tell her exactly what I'm going to do. And, you know, that's just how my communication works. That's how I've always thought of it. But, you know, the hinting at something thing, I'm not good at all with that.
Yeah. You have to tell us.
Yeah.
Unless we're trained to listen the way that our wives want us to listen, which training you and I, whew.
Yeah. We're two old dogs and we're not very good at learning new tricks.
Speak for yourself.
Weren't you the one that was telling me about this was years ago, probably 15 or so, close to the beginning of our friendship. But you had told me that one day, if you ever have a kid, you want to train into their brain this Pavlovian response of every time they hear a telephone ring, they want to eat a banana or something like that.
Oh my God, that is some stuff that a teenage Aaron would say.
I've always remembered that too.
It's the John Mulaney quote of crazy people. They say shit that'll change your life, and it's nothing to them. You guys are always you said some crazy shit once, and you say it, and I'm like, yeah, it's a normal thing for me to say.
that was just a Tuesday, you know?
Yeah. And you're like, I've been thinking about that for 15 years.
I thought you were giving me some Da Vinci's Code level of hidden message, you know? I'm over here. I have the cork board with the red string and the dots and everything. I'm over here dissecting it. Photos. I've been stalking you for 12 years. You know, why do you think our friendship is so strong? Because I know everything about you.
I'm just reaching into my pocket, pulling out a clown horn, honking it a few times and throwing it over my shoulder. And you're like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
And I'm I just had a clown horn in my pocket. I don't know where I got it.
We've gotten a little off track here. Okay.
Yeah. Let's bring it back.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to mention about how you and wife A met, or, you know, expand upon the transition from the swiping right or left? I don't know. Which is it? Swiping left or right? Is it right?
Swiping right. Yeah. She's my Tinderella, so I got to know.
I haven't used Tinder in probably 4 years now, so. Okay, so.
Grandpa.
I know. I've also, you know, been in this relationship now for a little over 3 years, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so wife swiped right, and you guys had that funny interaction, and then what happened?
Well, like I said, we met up. We went out to dinner. On our first date, we even talked about adoption and fostering, and how eventually that's kind of what we wanted to do, because there are so many kids out there that need a good home.
Yeah.
And personally, with all the mental illness and physical illnesses in my genes, I don't have this ego that I think I need to reproduce and pass on my genes because I'm a perfect specimen. I'm not.
No. Me neither.
And I would feel awful if, I had a child and they were cursed with depression or anxiety or BPD, borderline personality disorder, for those who aren't in the mental health spectrum.
It's a very responsible thing to think too.
Yeah, so after she said she was on board with fostering and adopting, I was like, cool. The way you're looking at me, I've already got you. You're my old lady forever now, so I'm going to go get snipped. And when we want kids, it's going to be very intentional.
Yeah.
But she was like, yeah, this guy was fun. I'll go see him casually. And I was like, this lady's going to be my wife. She don't even know yet.
It's the same path on a different bridge. It's fine.
Yeah. 2 huge quotes that I heard towards the beginning of my relationship that helped me guide our course so well, that we'll talk about more in depth as you get into your stories.
Yeah.
Was that a good relationship isn't 50-50. It's 100-100. And that just means that we're both doing our best. If she's tired when she comes home from work and doesn't have the energy to feed the dogs, I'll feed the dogs. If, I blew my neck out and I've got to lay in my recliner for 4 days, she has been willing to take out the animals, feed everyone, and just take care of the house while I'm totally incapacitated.
Yeah.
And she has communicated that she needs me as a partner, so I am not to break myself in such a manner to leave her taking care of everything on her own. But then the second one was never give up on the same day. So I can be tired, I can be worn out, but if we're 100-100, that means she's got to put the effort in that day. Yeah. And if she's spent, well, my turn.
Yeah. I will expand upon that a little bit later. How I have viewed the 50-50 idea that people present whenever they talk about being in a relationship with people. And I don't fully agree with it. I'll expand upon that in a little bit though. Let me tell you about how me and my wife met. So you and I, we have a friend, a mutual friend that lives out in the California area. And I've kept in touch with this person for a while, and they're one of my best friends. In fact, they were the person who officiated my wedding. But there's a very specific reason why.
Yep, I was there.
They were working on set as a background for a TV show, something to that effect. And our friend met my wife there. They had gotten to talking.
Yeah.
And our friend kind of just started hyping me up. And my wife got interested and added me on Instagram. And our friend hit me up and said, hey, I just got done. I met this girl. She seems really sweet. I think that you two would get along really well. I hyped you up. She's going to add you on Instagram. Message her. Hop on that. Well, I had just moved to Italy. I think I was here for maybe a week or two at that point. And I was going through a massive change in life. I had a lot of issues that I was still dealing with and clearing up from the past 2 years at that point. So I didn't really think too much about pursuing or looking into a relationship. I needed to figure out who I was. And out of nowhere, she messages me on Instagram. And we just started talking. And eventually we switched to FaceTime, calling each other all the time. And, we got along really well.
I know early on you guys, even a month or 3 into your relationship, you guys were having movie dates over FaceTime, which I thought was super cute and romantic.
Yeah. At that time, we had the pandemic going on. So, as much as I wanted to fly to her or she wanted to fly to me, we really couldn't. So we had to supplement our abilities to kind of go on dates. And yeah, the movie dates were a great idea. We decided that would FaceTime each other, and we'd put a movie up on our TV or our computer. I think I used my computer a lot because it was easier for me to, find movies to watch. But
yeah,
we did those small things that helped us feel as if we were together, even when we actually physically weren't. And by the time the pandemic was still going on, but travel restrictions, travel bans started clearing. And, at the moment I found out that Italy was allowing tourism again, we bought her a ticket. And the longest she was allowed to come out here was for 90 days. So we expected the full 90-day treatment. Because at that point, we'd already been dating for 11 months. And we had not seen each other. So we wanted to spend as much time with each other as possible.
Yeah, that's understandable.
When she came out here, within 2 months of those 3 months, we had already sent off the paperwork and everything to be married. And the rest is history.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like we had similar timelines, because when my wife and I got together, she had the time requirement of like, hey, we've got to be together for at least a year before you can propose. So the first time we said, I love you, or, did that whole thing, it was New Year's Day 2021. So we were setting off fireworks off my little tiny Ford Ranger I had at the time in the yard, just being clowns. There was a big party at the house I was staying at. And I brought her into the bedroom after setting off the fireworks, sat her down and was like, hey, listen, you don't have to say it back. You don't have to feel any type of way. I just need to tell you, I love you. You're awesome. I'm super appreciative you're in my life. I'm going to go set off more fireworks or fight someone. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to go fuck around. And she's like crying because, because no one had ever told her that they loved her first and stuff. And I, was trying to not put pressure on her, but I was like, dude, I love you. Like, I got to tell you, I'm sorry.
Did you say it just like that too? Like, dude, I love you.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, essentially.
I love that.
Yeah, instead of a well-lit room, though, I had red Christmas lights, so it was a little more intimate.
Oh, that is really cute.
But then a year later, I proposed at Snowshoe, I think, because we really loved snowboarding together. We're even doing our honeymoon here in 6 or 7 months, and we're flying out to Japan to snowboard together.
That's beautiful. I gotta imagine that's going to be an incredible time.
Oh, yeah.
So, big thing about moving to Italy and trying to find out who I am and kind of change my life. I mentioned it in our introduction episode, but I'm a former alcohol abuser. I went through some traumatic stuff back in 2018, and even stuff before that, I had started using alcohol to kind of numb the pain that I had had.
Yeah.
And, 2018 is when it came to a head, and I just started spiraling. So 2 years later is when I moved to Italy, 2020. And I had not changed much about myself. I had really wanted to, but I didn't have the drive or the energy to really put myself through what I needed to do in order to change. And during the beginning portions of my relationship to my wife, before we were engaged and before we had even gotten to actually be around each other, the alcohol abuse had shined through. There's no easy way to put it, but I had...
you can't hide that.
No, you really can't. You can try, but it's going to come out eventually. And there were nights where I had just broken down in tears, texting her or on the phone with her, and just kind of talking about the stuff that was, the sadness that I was going through, and how much of a hard time I was having coping with what had happened. And she had been there for me. She had been very helpful. She would listen to what I had to say, but that didn't mean that she thought it was okay. And she was incredibly worried, as she should have been, about my alcohol intake and what I'd been telling her. Not that I had any kind of particular thoughts, but just more so the amount of sadness that I've had inside of myself for so long that I hadn't expressed in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
It worried her a lot. And even towards when she actually did come out here, I was still battling that demon. But I felt like I was doing better. But there had been times after she had flown out here and that we had spent time together where there would be a night where I would buy like a 12-pack of like the seltzer alcohol drinks.
Tall boys or...
Yeah. And I would be sitting there playing like Commander with the boys or something. And the next thing I know, I'm like 8 or 9 of those things deep. It's only been like 45 minutes to an hour. And I go to stand up and it's, a feeling that at that time I had already been pretty understanding, oh, I'm drunk. But, I didn't think too much of it. I was like, okay, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to get blackout or anything like that. But this would happen like frequently. And it took a lot of communication between the wife and I about, this is not okay. You're still fighting this. You are not over that hill, even though you keep telling yourself you are. She, as an outside perspective and a person who was seeing what was happening, she knew that I still wasn't done with that battle, even though I had thought I'd already won. And it did cause some struggles early on into our plans of getting married and everything like that. She really wanted me to make sure that
getting better.
Yeah, she wanted to make sure that I was working on getting better. And a lot of everything that she had told me, it came through in our strong communication with each other. We had been a long distant couple for 11 months. So the only thing we really had to work on was our communication. We couldn't focus on a physical relationship with each other. It was purely, we are talking through text message, FaceTime calls. I mean, that was pretty much it. We're constantly talking with each other. So our communication skill having already been pretty refined, honestly, really helped us with that. And I had to listen to what she was saying and understand that no matter, even if I thought I was done with that, I wasn't.
Yeah. My wife is also extremely brave. Communication is key. I really messed up in the beginning of my relationship with my wife by not, if we're being open, honest, vulnerable, which is the whole idea here, I wasn't sexualizing her enough. And that was from my own traumas and stuff. Mm-hmm. I had never been in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to be sexual in a healthy relationship. And that's something I'm still working on as diligently as I can to ensure my wife's needs are met in that realm, because that's not something I'm good at right now. I have never really had a relationship this healthy or this long term that I've clearly had to work at this long, because you have to work every day of your relationship for it to work.
Yeah.
So I would agree that as you discussed in our last episode, being empathetic and realizing what your partner needs is massively important. And the only way we can help our partner in that way is by communicating what we're thinking and feeling and what we need.
It is one of the most undervalued skills that you have. Communicating is something that is very important in all facets of your life. But I think if my communication skills were any worse, I don't know if my wife would have wanted to be my wife.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for all the stuff I've learned, but I'm certainly not proud of everything that I messed up in order to learn the lessons I have. And I think that just shows that hopefully we are good people at heart, since we're trying to constantly improve ourselves. I'm
not proud of the things that I have done, but I am, like you, very proud of I'm very proud of where I'm at now. And, a lot of that took the communication, and it was also a lot of struggling, a lot of mental challenges to overcome, a lot of self-reflecting that took for me to come out the other side of what I had been facing and the struggles that were going through my brain.
Yeah. So I think another thing that we kind of want to touch on is kind of perfection as a concept.
Yeah.
And I think you want to say that, like, marriage isn't perfect, and I can really relate to that. But my point of view is a little different than yours as far as on the concept of perfection. So I'll let you talk a little bit more about your marriage and your relationship, and then I'll kind of tell you how I feel about the concept of perfection and how it feels.
Okay.
On my end for having a healthy relationship and stuff.
I really feel like you and I have a similar mindset about this area, and I feel like ultimately we're going to, come to the same conclusion. I kind of feel like that's how you and I typically work. But marriage...
Do you concur, Doctor?
I concur with that. Marriage is not perfect. Marriage does not... It's not a simple thing that you should just dive into. You're with somebody and you love them, and yes, you want to get married to them, but there are things you still have to work through. But
things you have to find out.
What makes a marriage feel perfect is that you're okay with your marriage not being perfect. And ultimately, I've mentioned before about how you can see people on the internet and people are constantly posting about how happy they are in their relationship, and they're always posting photos of them going out and doing stuff. I'm terrible at posting on social media frequently. I post maybe a photo every other month or so, especially if it's like a big trip. If we go on a boat trip or something like that, I'll post a photo or two. Or I'm really good at holding a bunch of photos and then photo dumping them onto Instagram, like 12 at a time or something.
Yeah, I've noticed.
But I bring that up because, people see into a relationship via Instagram or via social media, and they say, wow, that looks like the perfect couple. And then they take what they're seeing and they judge their relationship based to that. And they think to themselves, well, Aaron didn't do the dishes earlier today, and I'm not happy about that. And we're not on a beach right now. Do I feel like my marriage is perfect? Is it? Those are questions you're going to have to yourself because you're comparing what you have to everybody else, what they have. And one thing that I think my wife and I kind of understood earlier on in our relationship is we don't care about showing off, and we don't want to compare our relationship to other people.
Yeah.
Even if it looks like a couple that we hang out with are struggling, or maybe they're arguing, or maybe everything's completely fine, we don't sit there and relate our marriage to their relationship.
Yeah, why would I be interested in having a better marriage than you? That your marriage doesn't affect my marriage.
Exactly. Everybody has a different love language, you know? You can't compare another couple's love language to your love language. So ultimately, that boils down to marriage is not perfect, but it feels perfect to us. And as long as you in your relationship feel like you are in the perfect relationship for yourself, then you're fine. You should be fine with that. That's what you should be wanting.
Yeah, I agree. I had a friend pretty early on, I think when my wife and I first bought our house together, who was like, man, y'all got this perfect life, type of rhetoric. And I just said, hey, bro, like it might look nice from the outside, but it's chaos in here. Because we had just had our biggest fight where she wanted to finish the floors before we moved anything in. And I had been messing with the floors for weeks on end, day in and day out. I was done with the floors. I realized it was going to take into the next day to fix the floors. So I decided I was going to put the bed together in our new home so we could sleep in our bed that night. My wife disagreed with this notion because the floors needed to be done. And nothing she said would convince me to help her with the floors because I was already exhausted from working on floors.
Yeah.
So she came in and tried to convince me to help her with the floors and that it was stupid I was putting the bed together. And the way I communicated what was going on clearly to my wife for her to understand and for me to get my point across respectfully, I said, listen, I'm going to be putting the bed together. Nothing you say or do is going to stop me from doing that. You are going to be working on the floors because that's what you care the most about right now. Nothing I say or do is going to change that. So, I'm going to put the bed together. I would recommend you go out there and keep working on the floors because you standing here yelling at me isn't going to change anything. She kind of thought about it for a minute and was like, ugh, stormed off. And then later, she was like, man, I really just wanted you to help me with the floors. And I said, I couldn't because I was so overwhelmed working on the floors for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I could not spend another second on those floors. And I knew it was going to take, another day to finish. So I wanted to sleep in our bed. So I started putting the bed together. She was like, it was really nice sleeping in our bed. I said, it was really nice that you fixed the floors that I jacked up. Thank you so much for all the, work you put in. So I think for a marriage to work, it has to be a job. You have to work at your marriage for it to work. It's not going to do the work itself.
No.
Your marriage is a concept.
Yeah.
We're the ones who are actually putting in the hours.
Yeah.
So being Buddhist, and even, being Christian before that, pretty much all religions agree that, we are made in the image of a supreme being or deity, or we are some personification of a supreme being or deity.
Mm-hmm.
So we already have perfection within ourselves.
Yeah.
We just have to realize it, or, some religions believe you have to be a good person and follow the teachings in order to be rewarded with enlightenment or heaven or, whatever the ultimate reward is.
Right.
And so I just see my wife as perfect, and I love and respect her and treat her as such. But also one of my duties is for her to keep me on track and for me to keep her on track. So I'm not going to be quiet if she's doing something that's going to be harmful to her or me or some enterprise that we're a part of. I'm going to challenge her and say, hey, babe, I don't think that type of behavior is appropriate, or I think we should be doing this instead. But doing it in a respectful way because I see her as this perfect being that deserves all my love and respect and admiration.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's an awesome way for you to look at your wife, your significant other in general, and, understand that they are perfect. I love and respect my wife so much with everything that her and I have been through and everything that we have achieved together. The level of growth that we have both had That's why I say our marriage feels perfect for us. Even though I don't believe that marriage in itself is a perfect idea, I think that to each other, we are both perfect. And regardless of our flaws or the things that we are overcoming and fighting and challenging each other to this day, it's how we get through that together that brings that level of perfection for us.
Yeah. So, an important concept that I think kind of summarizes what we're trying to say here is that thing I said earlier where a marriage isn't 50-50, it's 100-100.
Yeah.
Every day I give my all to our marriage. But every day that looks different. You and I both know that 100% looks radically different day by day, having been, doing shift work with security. Some days your all is a lot. Some days your all is almost nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm saying is just keeping it 100-100 is I give my wife everything I've got each day, and I communicate when I need her to support me. And she does the same. She puts in her best effort every single day. And when she needs my help, she's communicating that she needs my help. And I will help her in whatever way I can until we're both exhausted.
Yeah.
So that's just a brief summary of the 100-100 concept.
Yeah, you and I have the same idea. I think we just break down how we describe it to other people in a different way. Because I'm a firm believer that the 50-50 idea it's a load of crock. It's not, there's no such thing as a relationship where everybody is constantly giving, exactly half to the relationship. You're going to have days, you mentioned it, our days working in security, I would work 16, 17-hour days. I would come home having to do that again in another 7 hours. And I would be exhausted. I'd be ready for bed. I want to walk in, shower, lay down, and do my best to get as close to 8 hours of sleep as I humanly could, which would honestly boil down to like maybe 6 hours if I was lucky, because I have insomnia, like it's nobody's business, and I can't fall asleep to save my life. So the concept of 50-50, it's outdated. It's not how people should be focusing on their relationship. And there's a lot of young, impressionable people out there who they get into their first relationship in middle school, high school, or, maybe it's after high school, whatever the reason may be. Young, impressionable people, they've always heard this concept of 50-50. And anytime I get to talk to any of my friends here, we have a lot of young people joining the military, getting into their first serious relationship. And if they come and ask me for advice, I just tell them, I was like, some days your marriage or your relationship is going to be 20-80. You're not going to be able to give as much as the other person. But as long as you both understand that, then it's okay. As long as you can communicate that with them. Because, like I said, my days where I worked 17 hours and I come home, I just want to go to bed. But my wife knows that. So I would come home and I would be blessed enough to have a warm plate of food ready for me to eat, so I don't have to sit there and cook for the next 30, 45 minutes. I would already have clean clothes for the next day and for that night. These were things that I was incredibly grateful for. And because of that, the days that I would have off of work, I would dedicate as much time as I could in order to bring her what it was that she was giving me, that comfort, that feeling of,
that we care about each other.
Yeah, that feeling that we care about each other. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, so I think you've touched on a couple points there. The two ideas that were introduced to me that led to my relationship being fairly successful early on was, 100-100, both of us giving our best effort each day. And then one you kind of mentioned, or the way it resonated with me, was never giving up on the same day.
Yes.
I know that wasn't your key point for the days that you were totally exhausted and she was taking care of you. But I saw several facets of never giving up on the same day in what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
being that whatever she needed to do to support you, she was doing that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would define your relationship at that juncture kind of as 50-50, because you were doing like the breadwinner, taking care of the family, putting in your shift, and she was supporting you and taking care of you and making sure you could do that in the most comfortable way possible.
Yeah.
But I just, like the golden rule and the platinum rule, I think a better way of saying 50-50 that translates closer to reality is 100-100.
I think I agree with you in that sense. I still will probably tell people about my 20-80 concept. But yeah, you can either go with the 20-80 concept, the 100-100 concept. It's going to bring you to the same conclusion that you're both giving everything you can at that time to the relationship, even if you don't have a lot to give and they have a lot more to give.
Yeah, give your best effort, and they'll tell you what they need from you if you're not meeting their needs.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Can you expand a little bit upon what you were saying with the never give up on the same day?
That was a quote from like an old person who'd been married for like 70 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were asked how their relationship, stayed happy and successful, he said, well, we never gave up on the same day. And that was really powerful because it showed me that my 100% concept sometimes meant that on your scale, it was going to be 100% and 0%. And there have been days where I am our marriage. She's done with me. She's over me. I'm a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
But I love her so much that she can be done with me. That's fine. I'm still going to love you.
Yeah.
And the inverse is true. There have been days where I'm like, I'm so tired of your crap. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. And she's like, okay, I see you, but I'm still here. I'm still showing up. So this is still going to happen.
That's so awesome. Like your wife, her level of bravery is like, it's on par with yours. Like that is incredible to me.
Dude, I said it in my my wedding vows, and I don't have them in front of me. But I was like, I didn't realize I was going to need someone who was this brave. And I told her the other night, like, I thought I was going to marry a lady, but I married like a bro. Like she's a dude. Like if someone says some stuff that's not okay, she's like, hey, you, shut your face. And I'm like, dude, that is so awesome. Now I can do that because she does it. So that means I can do it because I love when she does it.
Yeah, yeah. She kind of scares me.
One day she was out with me and Highland, and we were getting lunch somewhere, and some dude at the counter was being really rude to the person serving him. And me and Highland were like, hey, guy, shut the hell up. Fix your face. If you don't like what she's doing, get out of her store. And my wife was like, oh, you can correct strangers? Like, holy crap. And now when we see people screwing up, we're like, hey, you, shut up.
I love that. Like,
yeah, man. So I need someone who's going to tell me when I'm messing up. And she does.
Yeah. It's incredible because like in like for my wife and I, we are both very like goofy oriented. Like we make jokes all the time. We're always kind of like just cracking each other up. That's most of our relationship is us just laughing at stuff together. And that's my prominent personality trait. I love being a class clown. I love goofing off. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do. I think I'm the funniest person in the world. And I love it because my wife thinks I'm the funniest person in the world. It just works out. But like,
boom, sold.
Dude, yeah, like for you, right? Like you're a very, not confrontational necessarily, but I'm just going to say it, confrontational. And your wife.
We're both type A.
Yeah, I love that. That's incredible. Like I have a female version of myself and you have a female version of yourself. It's just great.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We're definitely like yin and yang. Like, I am whatever she needs at any given point,
Mm-hmm.
and she is exactly what I need at any given point.
Yeah.
So I definitely see us as like yin and yang, you know. I've got my my side that needs her to be complete, and she has her side that needs some of me to be complete. And when you put us together, man, it's just...
I wanted to touch on the never giving up on the same day kind of idea. So
Yeah.
whenever it comes to the wife and I, right, like, we do have our moments where we disagree on things. We don't really get into like arguments. Like, her and I have both conversed about what we
Naturally.
feel as if, you know, if we have a difference of opinion, you know, we've already discussed how we should handle that and everything. So, okay, so I say stupid things a lot, right? Like I said, I'm a class clown. I like to make jokes. And sometimes I'll make a joke that's either not funny or just
Same.
like bad timing. Like, you know, she might be stressed about something, and I try to like smooth it over with a joke, and it's very clear that it wasn't the right move, and I kind of catch myself sometimes in the middle of
Open
it.
mouth, insert foot.
Oh,
Yeah.
100% of the time. 100% of the time. But
Yeah, I'm right there
yeah,
with you, brother.
but, you know, we do have those moments where there is tension between us because of that. And, you know, every relationship is going to have sometimes when there's forms of tension. But one really big thing that kind of goes into the concept of the never give up on the same day thing, her and I always make sure that we wipe our slate clean. Okay? Like, so we started this early on in the relationship, and it actually started with my alcohol abuse tendencies that, you know, I might be, okay, I'm going to go in and get a drink or something. And, you know, like, why are you drinking tonight? You know, it's a Thursday evening or something, you know, like, well, you know, whatever. I'm going to play Magic with the boys. I want to drink. She's like, you have to work tomorrow at 8. Like, why? Whatever. Right. You know, before I finished battling that demon, but I would do that. And then we would go and lay down. And as I'm laying there, she'd be like, hey, so I don't like that you did that. And it felt so relieving to be able to cut through that tension together. And that's kind of where our idea of the, like, nighttime is our safe space. It's our unwinding time. So
You're shaking the etch a sketch at night.
Yeah, we will, if there's anything left that we have to discuss that day, or, you know, for a while there, I would need to talk about, you know, I really wanted to have a drink today, or, you know, I'm feeling really sad today because of this, or whatever it may be, you know, like, that was our safe space. We would lay down. A lot of the times I'll put on like a ghost video or something, because, you know, I love watching ghost movies and videos and stuff
You're
like
spoopy.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a spoopy kind of guy. I have Michael Myers tattooed on my hand for a reason. So we would take those moments and we would talk about what negative emotions we had going on. And, you know, everybody's going through some type of battle. So it's not just me that had to air out some of my laundry, per se. It was very important to us both that we would wipe the slate clean, because neither her nor I liked the idea of carrying these negative emotions into the next day. We didn't want to wake up in the morning and go sit at our table to have coffee and breakfast and be like, oh, I'm still mad at you for this, or I'm still annoyed about this situation.
Yeah.
We had to make sure that we took care of that, and we focused on doing that early on in the relationship. It was probably one of the best things that we expanded upon in our communication.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked a lot about like a very serious aspect in our relationship, but, you know, 95% of my relationship has been a lot of laughs and a lot of love. So I kind of want to know, like, tell me some of your favorite moments in your relationship, Aaron. Like, just things that you look back on fondly.
Yeah, so I don't get the whole honeymoon phase thing. And I think a lot of us millennials are discovering that that was just code for, like, our parents hating each other or something. Because every moment is a celebration with my wife. We have, like, 10 anniversaries, and we get each other gifts sporadically. Because every day is the best day of our marriage.
Yeah.
We just always love each other. And that hasn't changed as our marriage has matured and evolved. We've just gotten better at it.
Yeah.
So that would really be something I would hope people take away from this is they should be happy in their relationship. And if not, it's kind of incumbent on you to communicate your needs to your partner.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're both type A personality. So if we're not happy, we express it. We tell our partner how we expect them to love us.
Uh-huh.
And then, as you said in our last episode, we follow up. If our needs aren't being met, we say, hey, you're not doing the stuff I need you to do. Here's what I need from you and why.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, Tim? What's your best moment?
So I'm going to give an example here. I think this kind of explains my marriage, but
sometimes my spouse and I.
So sometimes my wife and I will be planning to go do something, like maybe we're planning on going out, or we're planning on going to the gym or something to that effect. I don't know. We might not be planning on doing anything. It's very likely. Some of my favorite moments are when one of us come up with a somewhat random idea and then the other just immediately wants to go along with it. There's no questions of, yeah, but, or anything like that. Like, one example that kind of pops into my mind is one day we were just sitting on the couch and watching like Bob's Burgers or something, passing the time and just relaxing. And I thought to myself, I'm kind of hungry. So, I looked at her and I was like, hey, I'm a little hungry. Do you want anything? And she was like, oh, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. We got some chicken or something in the oven or the freezer or whatever. And I would just make a suggestion like, or we could get McDonald's. And then like, it's like her eyes light up and it's like, like that moment of, oh my God, yes, let's do that. And I love the feeling that those moments bring to us. The other night, like maybe like 2 months ago or so, that's how we're from West Virginia. Is I say the other night referencing something from almost half a year ago, whatever.
That could be colloquial, or that's just because we're old now, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. So anyway, the other night we were going to lay down to go to bed, and I went to go turn on the TV, and I don't know why, but I was not feeling it. I did not want to lay down in the bed. I did not feel like watching TV in there, And it was probably like 10 o'clock at night. And I looked at her and I was like, hey, do you want to sleep in the living room tonight? And she was like, oh my God, yes, it's going to be like we're camping. Like, that's great. And we both just bring our pillows and blankets out to the couch. We lay down. I turn on the TV and it feels exciting. It's something, tiny. It's a small moment, but the amount of joy and laughter it would bring to us, it's incredible.
I think that's a great illustration of like type A marriage versus type B marriage.
Okay.
Is you guys support each other, and as like theater nerds, you could see that as yes and, during improv.
Oh yeah, I like that.
But my wife and I, we're both mains.
Uh-huh.
So I'll have an idea, and if she's for it, she'll support it. She's like, all right, I'm going to let him be the main character, and, we'll do his storyline and see what happens. But then she'll have her idea of how she wants to progress her storyline, and I'll support her in that. So we also slept in the living room one night, but it was because my wife was like, we haven't done anything cute in a while. Can we make a big pillow fort in the living room and sleep out there on the air mattress? And I was like, hell yeah, that sounds fucking awesome. Let's fucking do that, man. Let's do that.
I love that.
So, both our marriages are perfect and healthy and happy despite our many trials, but they're radically different, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I said, my marriage is perfect to me. And I say a lot of the time, I have no idea how I got blessed or got this lucky to be in a place where, you know, I can have this much love and this much support in my life. But, you know, if I was a Christian, I'd be saying thank God a lot, you know.
Thank deity.
Thank the universe is typically what I default to as a pantheist. So
yeah, that's how I defined it back when I was a Unitarian.
Yeah, that was actually something that was towards the beginning of my relationship. I was aware that my wife was, you know, Catholic, and I'm a pantheist. So we both kind of talked about it and discussed our beliefs and everything. But when it came time for us to get married, that was I was terrified because I had, you know,
that's a major point of contention for a lot of couples.
Yeah, we had explained to my in-laws that I was raised Catholic, so I understood, you know, a lot of their beliefs, but we never expanded upon I'm not actually Catholic anymore. I'm not practicing or anything to that effect. So when it came time for the marriage, you know, we were talking about possibly having to do our ceremony in a Catholic church, and it can kind of get a little iffy with getting married in a Catholic church if both parties aren't part of the Catholic Church. So that was something.
Yeah, they're not members of the congregation or what have you.
Yeah, like that was something that we had to address. I was super grateful that my wife was open to the talk and accepting of my different ideologies, but you know, I was worried that my in-laws were not going to be as happy about that. But again, you know, I am just incredibly blessed and surrounded with love. They accepted what I told them, and you know, they asked me to tell them a little bit about my beliefs and everything, and they were very happy, and they thought, wow, you know, that's, you know, I'm glad you believe something. That's what matters to us, you know.
That's so good, man.
Man, let me tell you, that conversation, like, because we FaceTimed her parents to, you know, I called them to ask them, you know, for their blessing in getting married. And that was something that I had to address with them before, because I told them, I was like, hey, so I have a very big question for you. But before you give me a yes or no on this question, I need to tell you something. And I'm just so incredibly grateful that they accepted me. They knew how much my wife and I, we loved each other and how much we constantly supported each other. And they were completely accepting of that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
My wife knew it was going to work when I asked her parents for their blessing. And her dad was like, good luck, boy. And her mom just like started crying and was like, you have to take care of her. And I was like, that's kind of the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. She might take care of you.
Take care of each other.
You know, I almost expect you to have a follow-up to that story with, and then she asked my mom for permission to marry me.
Oh, no, I'm an agent of free will. I've been a lord of chaos for a long time. My mom's just happy to be involved. Most people are like, look at that tornado going. And mom's like, yeah, that's my tornado.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It does whatever it wants. It's uncontrollable. Yeah, that's awesome. My cat is over here playing with. Actually, funny enough, I have the little table trinkets that we had at our wedding. I have a bunch of them sitting over here. And they're like little keys that you can use to open up bottles. But my cats like to play with them.
Yeah, I've got we've got a bunch of stuff from our wedding too. My favorite thing is we have the little white arrows that said Ash Wedding and pointed to where people needed to turn.
Mm-hmm.
And I hung them up in the garage, pointing at the house, like the door to the house.
Yeah.
So like every time I come into my house from my garage, which is kind of like my den, it reminds me that like I'm headed into my wedding. Like my marriage is constantly just being grateful and present.
There's a quote that I really like by I don't know who this individual is, but their name is Bruce Forsyth.
Hit us up, Bruce.
The quote goes, "The secret to a happy marriage is if you can be at peace with someone within four walls. If you are content because the one you love is near, either upstairs or downstairs, or in the same room, and you feel that warmth that you don't find very often, then that is what love is all about."
It's a lovely quote.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Shout out, Bruce.
I love the quote about love. It brings so much love into my life. So yeah, I definitely think you and I have both been incredibly blessed with very healthy, very strong relationships. What do you have anything else that you want to?
As far as marriage goes?
Yeah.
I had the same realization you did that most of the problems were from me saying stuff I shouldn't because men and women communicate very differently. So yeah. I would joke a lot early on about like my two jobs were keeping my mouth shut and holding down my recliner and doing whatever my wife told me to do. And really that was just me reminding myself that like I need to be careful what I say because my words are very impactful to her. And that as long as I'm meeting her needs, that's what I need to be doing as her husband. So those jokes, I mean, that's how I translate them to reality. And then the two ways I keep my marriage healthy is realizing that we're both giving it 100% every single day. And we're not going to give up on the same day. If she's too tired to carry on, it's going to be on me that day.
Yeah, I feel like I could probably talk forever about how much I've never thought I was ever going to reach a point in my life where I would be in a healthy marriage. I think the idea of marriage kind of faded from my mind around 2018, 2019 timeframe. I had just kind of accepted that I probably shouldn't look for love, and I had issues that I wasn't strong enough to work through. So, you know, I don't want to be that baggage that somebody has. And 5 years ago, my mindset was in a completely different place. And I kind of threw caution to the wind in a lot of the dumb decisions I had made. But me from 5 years ago, if you could see where I am now, I think you would be shocked, surprised, and overwhelmed by the amount of joy and love that I have in my life now.
How good. Yeah, I love that. I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us. This has been Aaron.
And Tim.
Be good to yourselves and each other. We love you.
Peace.
Sick.